Miss
You're
Couch,
lucky I got heart problems, or I
Miss
would have been in the
Couch,
courtroom when this happened.
mute her again.
That for each parenting time visit he misses moving forward, that she withholds the children, that she spend a corresponding day in jail. Maybe that will help her understand that your court orders are to be followed.
Hello.
Hello, is this Athena?
This is her mother, Michelle.
Okay.
I'm really upset with
Okay.
what's going on here. You know, my grandchildren are being touched.
Yeah.
They are being molested. This stops.
Ma'am, you
now.
are not a party.
Yes,
You are
I
not
have
a
been sick.
you are not a party. You cannot appear in this particular matter. If Miss Couch wishes to appear, she can appear, but third parties other than attorneys cannot appear on behalf of another party. So we have muted you, ma'am, because obviously you weren't going to stop talking. And this matter is before the court pursuant to the plaintiff's motion to enforce parenting time order. And court will note Mr. Kelly.
I think this may be Athena. Judge, let me call the case.
Okay.
Calling case 2024-1372 DC, Zachary Conley versus Athena Couch. Today is Monday, January 27, 2025 at 9:15 a.m.
Okay. Court will note, as stated, Mr. Kelly, on behalf of the plaintiff, this is plaintiff's motion to enforce parenting time order. And you are Miss Couch, is that correct? You can unmute. You have to unmute your phone. Miss Couch?
There, did you unmute it? Yes. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Your Honor, this is the third time we've had to file a motion with this court for my client to get parenting time with his kids. We're dealing with the same allegations.
Molesting children.
Hold on one second.
Parenting time to molest my grandchildren.
Miss Couch,
you're lucky I got heart problems, or I would have been in the courtroom when this happened.
Mute her again.
Yes.
Miss Couch, whoever is the other person, it's your mother, tell her to be quiet. She's not a part of these proceedings. And I don't want to hear from her again. If you want to be heard, I'll listen to you. I'm not listening to her. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Your Honor, again, this is the third time we've had to file a motion for him to see his kids. These are the same allegations she's brought up that were investigated by the Department of Health and Human Services and denied. I believe she even contacted CPS again. They didn't even investigate this time. My client hasn't been contacted. It's been over a month since he's seen his children. He dropped them off in compliance with the court's order on December 23rd so she could have Christmas Eve. He came there on December 24th to pick the children up. She refused to turn the children over. He contacted the police. She closed the door on police, simply refusing to turn the children over. So we're requesting, as to the holiday parenting time, Your Honor, he didn't get the children back till the afternoon of Christmas Day, when he was supposed to have them Christmas Eve at 9 p.m. until the following day. We're requesting for 2025 that he be awarded Christmas Eve and Christmas Day to make up for those holidays. He went back for his regularly scheduled parenting time in January. She refused to turn the children over. And he hasn't seen him since. When he shows up for his parenting time, she either will refuse to comply or she'll leave and just not be present at her home. We are requesting then, Your Honor, for his makeup parenting time that he get the children this Wednesday, January 29th, and that he be allowed to keep them through to February 9th, which would cover all the days he's missed for his parenting time. We would also request another $500 in attorney's fees. That would be $1,000 that would be outstanding because she's still not paid the $500 from November 1st order. We're not sure if he has a child support arrearage. I don't think he does. We'd request flexibility from the court. If it is indeed determined that he has a child support arrearage, that he be allowed to apply those fees to credit. If for whatever reason it's determined he does not have any arrearage, that attorney's fee bill be paid within 30 days of today or the date of the entry of the order in this matter. Your Honor, we're also requesting that defendant spend this upcoming weekend in jail. She just doesn't get it. She thinks your court order is a suggestion and she's simply not going to follow it. And I have a feeling we're going to be back here again, but I think the next time we'll simply file a motion to change custody. We'd also request, Your Honor, moving forward. We'd request, Your Honor, moving forward, that for each parenting time visit he misses moving forward, that she withholds the children, that she spend a corresponding day in jail. Maybe that will help her understand that your court orders are to be followed. Finally, Your Honor, finally, Your Honor,
Ms. Couch, do not interrupt. He is speaking.
He's molesting my children.
Interrupt, ma'am.
Excuse me?
Do not interrupt the attorney. He is speaking. You'll have your opportunity to speak.
Some fucking attorney.
Mute, Ms. Couch. Okay, go ahead.
Lastly, Your Honor, we're requesting for his pickup this Wednesday, that if he goes there and she does not make the children available, that we be able to contact the court to get a bench warrant issued for her arrest. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll unmute you, Ms. Couch, and you can respond.
So other than the fact that we're at the police station because their father, Zachary, the plaintiff, has been molesting them, has
that been investigated by DHHS?
I do have a officer's number here, with a case number. It has not been investigated yet. No.
Have you contacted Child Protective Services?
You know what? I did contact them before when he was watching children, peeing and pooping and having enemas done on them. Yeah, I did contact them, and they didn't do shit. And they're being molested. They were touched.
Ma'am, this is a court proceeding. Do not swear. We do not want vulgar language in the court.
He's molesting my children.
Ma'am, then you have a recourse.
What is wrong with you people?
You can contact CPS or you can contact the police and have an investigation. That's what your recourse is at this point. Okay?
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, what the court is going to do, mute Ms. Couch if you would. What the court is going to do at this point is the court is going to order that there would be makeup parenting time that would occur for the Christmas that was missed, or Christmas Eve, that the plaintiff would have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day in 2025. That in fact, he would be entitled to have the kids from January 29th, 2025 through February 9th, 2025 for makeup parenting time. The court would assess an additional $500 in attorney fees, bringing the total to $1,000, which would be paid within 30 days of entry of the within order in this matter. So that will be the order of the court. You can prepare that order, Mr. Kelly, submit it under a 7-day notice of entry.
Wait, I have a question. What is wrong? Why would you give children to somebody who's going to hurt them?
Mute Ms. Couch.
Your Honor, in the event he goes to pick the children up on the 29th, we're getting from her, she's probably not going to comply.
Well, I'm not going to speculate as to whether she comply. I would think probably based on her response, not, but we'll address that if it happens.
Okay.
He's molesting. Of course not. He's molesting my kids.
Okay, the hearing is over.
Why? Why is the hearing over? Why is the
mute Miss Couch? Why does she keep coming back in if we mute her?
She's unmuting herself.
Well,
I removed her from the hearing.
Okay. You're free to go. Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I thought that they kept muted until we unmuted them.
I can modify our settings to
allow. I do not want somebody being able to unmute themselves when we've muted them.
Okay. Zachary Conley versus Athena Couch.
This matter is before the court on the plaintiff's motion to enforce parenting time order. Mr. Kelly.
Your Honor, very quickly, very briefly, this court entered an order in June. My client had every other weekend parenting time and midweek parenting time. He was exercising that all the way up until the weekend of August 16th, which he received. Thereafter, defendant has not allowed overnight parenting time over the weekend, so he's missed 4 weekends up to date. He missed his parenting time on the 4th, 11th, and 18th. Midweek parenting time, he has had some midweek parenting time since then. However, there have been a number of occasions where she's either shown up late or simply has no-showed. And when she's shown up late, she's oddly enough picked him up right on time. We're requesting makeup parenting time for the 4 weekends, Your Honor, and for the midweek parenting times he's had. I think an appropriate remedy would be parenting time to start this weekend, which would be his upcoming weekend, and allow him to keep the children for the following week through the following Sunday for his makeup parenting time. This is the second time we've had to address this issue before the court. There's clearly a court order in place. We're required to file this motion to get this enforced, to get parenting time started. We're requesting attorney's fees in the amount of $500. And lastly, Your Honor, we suspect that defendant is going to indicate to the court, well, dad's got some deviance, he's got all these other things going on. She actually called CPS on him. They did an investigation. During that investigation, there was no suspension of parenting time. There was no safety plan put in place. And they've closed their investigation since then. We suspect this more has to do with her wanting to continue the marriage or relationship with my client. She has made intimations to that effect. And she also showed up at his grandmother's house where he lives, barging her way in and assaulting his grandmother, who ultimately ended up getting a PPO against him or against her. So we suspect it's not really about the children's safety as much as it's another issue relating to their relationship, which again has no bearing on this court's order. So again, we're requesting a week of makeup parenting time starting this Friday and attorney's fees in the amount of $500. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Couch, what's your response?
My response to that, I had consulted CPS because I had found videos of children in diapers with enemas being done to them. And they told me not to allow visitation if I felt that it was in the children's best interest. And I feel that that is the case.
Okay, well, in this particular case, CPS cannot violate the court orders. The court will enforce its orders in this matter until such time as it's changed. You can file a petition seeking to change the orders if you have a proper cause to do so. If not, then it won't be changed. But
I do have evidence. I'm sorry, excuse me.
yeah, don't interrupt, ma'am. So what happens if you have proper cause, you can file a motion to modify parenting time until such time as that occurs. The court will enforce its orders. And if the orders are not followed, the person violating the orders can end up in jail. So it's a choice as to what you want to do in this matter. The court will note that it states, the motion as well states that the defendant has been late for drop-off. The court will order that if in fact the plaintiff is late for drop-off of the children, then the plaintiff is entitled to the time extended at the end of the parenting time. So if she's late for 1 hour dropping them off, then he's entitled to an additional hour of parenting time to make up for that. So that will be the order. The court does note, as Mr. Kelly stated, that CPS has been involved. They've closed the case without taking action. So as a result, the court would infer from that CPS did not find any basis for proceeding, or they would have sustained and substantiated the allegations. So until they do, the court simply will enforce its orders. The court will award to Mr. Kelly the attorney fees of $500 necessitated by this motion to enforce the parenting time will be paid within 45 days of today's date. Okay.
Your Honor, in regards to the makeup parenting time, what was the court ordering?
Yes, the court will, or now when your client picks the children up on this Friday,
Yes.
court will allow him to have the children for 1 week to make up for the missed parenting time. Anything else, Mr. Kelly?
No, Your Honor. I'll get
Anything else, Ms. Couch?
No, thank you.
That will be the order. Mr. Kelly, you can submit under 7-day notice of entry.
Your Honor, even though it's being submitted under 7-day, can we make it clear that it is to be followed and she should show up for this Friday?
Yep. We'll put it and state that it's the orders to have immediate effect.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
May I say something?
Okay, go ahead.
I am trying to get somebody through legal aid. Nobody has been willing to help me. This attorney, Michael Kelly, even worked with a mediator that he had known. And the mediation didn't go any further because they thought that it wasn't.
Okay, we're not addressing mediation now, Ms. Couch. We're addressing the orders that were in place.
Because he's an attorney. I don't have anybody, and yet he has a that involves children.
Okay.
He was watching children.
That's the order of the court. The order will again be in
I will
effect.
be filing against the state of Michigan.
Okay, that's the order of the court, ma'am. We're going to end the hearing now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Kelly, do you wish to make an opening statement or proceed to your proofs?
No opening statement, Your Honor. I would request the court to take judicial notice of its court orders in this case, as well as judicial notice of the personal protection order filed entered by Judge Tina Yost Johnson, file number 24-2333 PP. It would be Gloria A. Griffiths versus Athena Couch.
Okay, well, the court will always take judicial notice of its files, so. I'll ask you, Ms. Couch, do you wish to make an opening statement, or you can reserve your opening statement, do it later, or waive your opening statement? What would you like to do?
Your Honor, at this time, I am going to ask for a continuance. I'm in the process of getting an attorney.
Well, ma'am, this case has been scheduled for a long time. So.
Well, I do not have an attorney, so I would like to proceed with one, and not at this time, so.
Okay, Mr. Kelly, what's your response?
Your Honor, as the court's already indicated, this case has been pending for a very long time. And she's indicated at multiple hearings she's retaining an attorney and hasn't done so thus far. My client has very limited parenting time. He's having issues with getting his parenting time. He'd like some finality to this, so we'd like to proceed this morning.
Okay, thank you. Well, the court does note that the case is currently at this time is 182 days old. So you're talking over 6 months that the case has been pending. There was an order back in June 13th, 24, as it relates to, again, the parenting time and custody and all of that. You had mediation just the last month. And obviously, Ms. Couch, you've been put well on notice of the time for this trial and in this matter. So the court is going to deny your request for a continuance in this matter, and we will proceed. Do you wish to make an opening statement, waive your opening statement, or reserve? Excuse me?
I have no more further comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Court will take that as a waiver of opening statement. Mr. Kelly, you can proceed with your proofs.
Your Honor, we call Athena Couch as the
Okay.
first witness.
Ms. Couch, have you raise your right hand, be sworn in, and then we'll proceed.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Kelly, you can proceed.
Ms. Couch, are you the mother of Amelia Margaret Conley and Evelyn Ann Conley?
Yes.
How old are they?
2.5.
And who is their biological father?
Zachary Conley.
Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit. Ma'am, are you currently employed?
I am not.
When was the last time you worked?
April of 2022.
Okay, and where were you working?
Actually, that might have been May, excuse me. And I was working at Firekeepers Casino.
Okay, how long had you been working there?
A week. Actually, I think it was 4 days.
Okay. What were you getting paid hourly there?
16.
What was your actual job title?
Barback.
And what does that entail?
Stocking drinks, alcoholic beverages for the casino.
Okay. And you worked there for 4 days?
Yes, I did. I was recently a barista when I was pregnant with the kids at Firekeepers as well.
Where was your last job prior to Firekeepers?
It was Applebee's.
And how long were you at Applebee's?
4 or 5 months.
What was your job at Applebee's?
I was the line cook.
Okay. What were you getting paid there?
$15.
Okay. How about prior to Applebee's? Where did you work?
May I ask the relevance?
Ma'am, I'm asking the questions.
Yeah, just answer the question, ma'am. In this matter, when you're dealing with custody, parenting time, again, income is relevant as it relates to child support.
Okay. While I was working at Applebee's, I also worked at a hotel.
How long did you work at the hotel?
A month while I was working at Applebee's, and then they were in contingency with each other. I don't know, 6 months.
Did you transition from the hotel to Applebee's?
I was working both.
Okay. So you worked both the hotel and Applebee's for at least 1 month.
Yes.
Okay. What'd you do at the hotel?
I worked the front desk, and then I also cleaned. I was a housekeeper as well on the weekend.
Okay. And what was your wage there?
About 15.
Is this when you worked for Applebee's? Was that in 2022 or 2021, or when was it?
That was 2021.
Okay. Where did you work prior to the hotel?
I think I worked for Shipped for a little bit,
What's that?
delivering groceries.
Okay. When you say a little bit, was it like 4 days? Was it a week?
Like 3 months.
Remember what your wage was for that?
I was making, I don't know, maybe $20 an hour.
Okay. When you worked for when you worked for Shift, how many hours a week were you working? Was it full time?
No, I only worked, like I did a couple of gigs each day. So I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 hours.
Okay. How about when you worked at the hotel? How many hours did you work there a week?
I'm at the rest of my jobs.
You were full time in the rest of your job, so 40 hours at the other jobs? Okay.
Or at least 35.
Okay. And you indicated you're currently unemployed, is that correct?
Yes, but I am in the process of getting employment as well.
What does in the process mean, ma'am?
I am working with an agency that will help me get childcare for my kids while I'm also furthering my education and working.
When did you sign up with this agency?
I just filled out the application last week, so
What's the name of the agency?
I'd rather keep that disclosed. Thank you.
Your Honor, could you ever answer the question?
Yeah, ma'am, you're gonna have to answer the question.
I am working through Women's Co-op.
Are you receiving any type of public assistance at this time, ma'am?
Yes, I'm receiving cash assistance.
Are you receiving anything else?
Food stamps, but that's it.
Are the girls covered on any type of health insurance?
They are on my health insurance, Medicaid.
Okay. When you were together with Mr. Conley after you had the children, how many jobs was he working?
I'm sorry, you said how many jobs was he working? When?
After you had the children?
3 that I know of,
Okay. So,
but not full-time and not at all of them, but like during the week.
what jobs did he have?
He delivers mission tortillas for his stepdad. He worked Meyer 1 day out of the week. And then he also worked for Daniel's building company.
So do you work these, I take it he didn't work any of these jobs all on the same day, but they were on different days?
Yes,
And during, just to be clear, you haven't worked since you gave birth to the children, correct?
I tried to go back to work after I had the kids. They were 4 months old. I said April, but I believe it was more like May. That I went back to work at Firekeepers, but I could not continue working that job because Zachary Conley did not work with me. He said that he could not watch the kids, and neither could his parents. And I had previously arranged that they were to watch them, and they did not. They told me that they had camping trips.
Is it fair to say him working 3 jobs, he was gone a fair amount of time?
Actually, he was home quite a bit, but he never took care of the kids. He never helped me once.
Your Honor, move to strike. That's not what I asked her.
I'll strike the answer.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you know Holly Conley?
I do.
Are you aware that she works for the Department of Health and Human Services Benefits Department?
Yes, I'm aware.
How is it that you're receiving the public assistance that you are receiving when you had written a letter to DHHS indicating Ms. Connolly was interfering with you getting benefits?
Excuse me, what was the question?
How are you receiving the public assistance you have testified to when you wrote a letter to DHHS regarding Ms. Connolly, indicating that she was interfering with your ability to get the benefits you applied for?
It wasn't a matter of interfering with the ability as much as it was her being in my case, because she had gotten the girls' medical cards without my acknowledgement. She she does work for the state of Michigan, and when I had questioned about like how much she was able to see in my case, the answer was she was able to see pretty much all of it. So I didn't want her interfering with any of my personal business.
But was she actually interfering?
Excuse me, not interfering, but as snooping, looking through, feeding information back to Zach, whatever the case may be.
But that never actually happened, did it? Correct?
Excuse me?
That never actually happened, did it?
What?
What you're saying about snooping through your file and feeding information to Zach.
She had to have at least been in my case to get medical cards for my children without my acknowledgement.
But you're indicating she was feeding information to Zach. Do you have any proof of that?
I do not. Actually, yes, I do. When Zachary was arrested for the domestic violence case, I needed car seats that his mom came and took from the residence as well as his vehicle, which is fine. His stepmother had a pair of extra car seats. So I asked for those. She gave them to me, then told me that they were a friend of hers and that she needed them back. All of those text messages and things, those were delivered right back to Zach's mom. So I know that they're all talking about it. So with that power that she has and in the office, I am pretty sure that she is up in my case.
So you're speculating that she is.
Sure. All right, I have 2 young children. This is
Miss Conley actually regularly watched your kids on Sundays when you were still with Mr. Conley, correct?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Miss Miss Conley regularly watched your children on Sundays when you were still with Mr. Conley. Isn't that true?
That is true. I did not have an option. Zachary would send the kids wherever, because he wanted them to be gone out of the house.
You have a automobile, correct?
I do.
Okay. And nothing prevented you from taking the girls anywhere at that time, did it?
Actually, my car was out of commission for a year because Zachary refused to fix it. And there have also been 2 tax refund checks that we haven't seen a dime of.
Your Honor, move to strike. There was no question.
Court will strike the answers. It's not responsive. Ms. Couch, just answer the questions. You'll have a chance to testify as to everything you want to testify to, but not at this
For
time.
continuance today because I don't have an attorney here with me.
I understand that, but again, I denied the motion, so you should have done it sooner.
Ms. Couch, even though you allowed the children to go over to Miss Conley's house, you didn't allow them to spend the night there, did you?
Absolutely not.
But you did allow the girls to spend the night at your mom's house, though, correct?
Yeah.
Do you know Lori Putnam?
I do.
Who is Lori Putnam?
Zach's mom.
Okay, and Miss Holly Conley, who is Lori Conley? Or Holly Conley?
Zach's stepmother.
Okay. Now, Miss Putnam, like Miss Conley, she regularly watched your children on Saturdays when you were still with Mr. Conley. Is that correct?
Not always.
But she would watch your children
Yeah,
on Saturdays?
again, I had no business in that. Zach would reach out and contact.
And you didn't allow the girls to spend the night at Miss Putnam's house either, did you?
She never asked.
In terms of housing where you're currently at, you're currently being evicted, correct?
Yes, from the home that Zachary purchased for our family. That we had actually gone through the process of buying the home and everything.
Does your mom live nearby?
She does.
Who lives at your mom's house?
My mom and my brother.
How old is your brother?
27.
Hasn't he assaulted your mom in the past?
He has.
Hasn't he assaulted you in the past?
He has.
Did you advise Mr. Conley that you think your brother is quote unquote crazy?
Yes.
Do you think that's a safe place for your kids to be unsupervised by either yourself or Mr. Conley?
But they are supervised by my mother, so I felt safe in that.
With your brother who's 27 present?
With my
Correct.
never comes out of his room because he's playing video games.
How old is your mom?
I believe she's 52.
In terms of transportation, you indicated your vehicle was disabled or broken down. Is it running now?
Yes, I have a working vehicle.
Okay. Do you have current insurance on it?
I do not.
How about current tags?
No.
Is that the vehicle you transfer the children around in?
I do, but very little. We mostly stay at home into the store.
When the children were born, was Mr. Conley present at their birth?
He was.
Were the children delivered by C-section?
Yes,
Did he actually cut the umbilical cords?
I believe so.
Okay. And has he been present at some of their doctor's appointments?
Yes.
Now, earlier this year, you contacted CPS accusing him of molesting the children, didn't you?
I did not.
However, that's what they were investigating, weren't they?
No,
Okay. What was your understanding of what they were investigating him for?
for child I don't even know what to call it. Just I didn't call CPS. That was not me. So,
Okay.
but CPS would have had to have been involved. The police told me because of the matter of what we had seen.
So when CPS provides a safety plan to Mr. Conley that says there's allegations, would that not be part of their investigation?
Yes, which the kids were taken to the hospital.
Okay. And ultimately that CPS investigation
Was not
was
thorough.
denied and closed, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I'd like to say
You've
wasn't.
been given copies of the court-ordered parenting time, or correct?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Isn't it true that the initial order was required because you were not allowing Mr. Conley to see the kids?
But I did allow Mr. Conley to see the kids. The only reason why I did not was because I was told by DHHS that he might try to withhold the children from me at this time, or at that time, sorry.
Ma'am, DHHS was not involved until August. We're talking about the initial order that was entered in June.
Sorry, whoever I contacted for child support. Because I haven't, like I said, received.
And you violated that court order by not allowing him to see the kids, correct?
All the way up until I found evidence that he was not of the right mind
Okay, so that's a yes.
in August. So I did allow parenting time for months before there was reason to believe that.
Tell me the 5 best things you think about him as a parent.
I'm sorry, I can't come up with any. He provides, and that's about it.
You use marijuana regularly, don't you?
Occasionally,
Okay, what's occasionally?
once or twice a day.
In fact, the 2 incidences of domestic violence that you guys had in the past, weren't those related to Mr. Conley not providing you marijuana?
No, that's not what it was about. It was about him putting his hands on me and him enjoying it.
Yeah, Your Honor, as that last part of the answer, I'd move to strike as lack of foundation.
Court will sustain the objection. Just answer the question again, ma'am. You'll have a chance to give any other testimony that you want after Mr. Kelly is done questioning you.
The domestic violence incident that he had been charged with, wasn't it true in the week before he got arrested that he actually was attacked by you, where you knocked the phone out of his hands because you wanted some marijuana from
No,
him? Okay. The kids were home during that time, but asleep, correct?
what?
The kids were home during that incident, correct?
They weren't present.
Okay, but they were in the house?
Yes, but not present.
Okay. The second incident where he actually got charged and you came into the bathroom to get the keys to his truck when he was in the shower, the kids were actually present during that time, correct?
Yes,
Ma'am, could you answer the question?
I said yes.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Isn't it true at the time he got arrested, you didn't want him arrested?
No, I told the police officer to take him away.
Then after he got out of jail that you actually requested him to return home?
I wasn't aware of I wasn't sure how they proceeded with things like that. So,
Okay. So you did ask him to come home.
yes,
Did Mr. Conley actually come home?
no.
Okay. Was that because of, ma'am?
What was the question?
You had indicated he did not come home, and I asked you, was that because of his bond conditions?
Yes.
Okay. During this time when he was out of the house, isn't it true that you'd actually text him that the girls missed him and try to get him to meet up with you and the girls to go to places like the zoo?
That was after I invited him to the zoo after I had found I didn't want him to have any unsupervised visitation or visitation, that didn't. Yeah, the answer is yes. Thank you.
Your Honor, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Your Honor, I'm not sure. My internet just dropped, so I had
Yeah.
to reconnect.
Done.
And I'm sorry about that.
That happens. Your last question happened to do with where she answered about inviting to the zoo, and then that's the last we heard.
Okay. Ma'am, do you know a Gloria Griffiths?
I do.
Okay, and who is she?
Zachary's grandmother.
Okay, she currently has a PPO against you for wrongfully entering her premises, looking for Mr. Conley in August of 2024. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Okay. Despite the allegations that you've made regarding Mr. Conley throughout this matter, isn't it true you've actually wanted him back to actually save your family, your relationship?
Yes, and also to protect my children.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Couch, you can render any other testimony you'd like to give at this time, or you can reserve that until your case, part of your case.
I just want to say I would never assault Zachary's grandmother. In fact, she threatened to push me down the stairs and tried to assault me. So, but I just wanted a chance to speak to Zach about our family. So, sorry.
Well, this is, again, you can render any other testimony you'd like at this time. So just not in response to that. So if there's anything else that you would like to render, you have an opportunity to do that.
I have a whole bunch, but I also, like I said, I'm working with an attorney, so I don't think I'm 23 years old. I haven't studied law. I don't think it's great for me to just open my mouth on here. So.
Okay, well, ma'am, what happens is when you don't get an attorney, that you are representing, you're held to the same standard as an attorney. So you can render any testimony you want at this time. But if you don't, then the court will make a decision based upon the testimony and the evidence that I have. So it's up to you.
May I please ask one more question?
Sure.
Was Zachary's phone searched by the police?
I have no idea, and that would be a question you can ask him when he testifies.
Then who am I asking questions to? Oh, okay.
To Mr. Conley when he's testifying.
Okay.
Do you wish to render any other testimony at this time?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And next witness, Mr. Kelly?
Your Honor, I would call my client, Mr. Conley.
Okay, Mr. Conley, if you would raise your right hand, we'll have you sworn in and then we'll proceed.
All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Didn't hear anything, sir.
Mr. Conley?
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Conley, are you the father of Amelia Margaret Conley and Evelyn Ann Conley?
Yes,
And who is their mother?
Athena Couch.
Okay. How long have you and Miss Couch been in a relationship?
Probably just about 3.5 years.
Okay. At the time of the birth, were you present?
Yes.
Okay. Did you cut their umbilical cords?
Yes.
Okay. Have you gone to their doctor's appointments?
Yes.
All of them or just some of them?
Some of them when I could get the time off of work.
When you're with your children, granted they are very young. I believe Ms. Couch testified they're 2.5. But when you're with your children, if they have a problem, if they like fall down or hurt themselves or something like that, do they come to you when those issues arise?
Yes.
Okay. Do they also go to their mother?
Yes.
How about when they have a triumph of sorts? Maybe they drew you a picture or something like that. Do they come to you and speak with you about that?
Yes.
When you and Miss Conley were together, who would prepare the children's meals?
She would, because I was working 3 jobs at the time.
Okay. Were you home for dinner though?
Yes.
Okay. During dinner, who would feed the children?
She would, or I would help them around the table.
Okay. Do you know what your children's favorite foods are?
Pizzas, cottage cheese, vegetables, all fruit. They like their pastas, pancakes,
What kind of vegetables they like?
asparagus, green beans, corn, broccoli.
When you see their children, do they show you signs of affection?
Yes, all the time.
What do they do?
They hug me, tell me they love them. Give me kisses,
Can
cuddle with me on the couch.
These are twins, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe their personalities to the court?
Fun, outgoing, very energetic. They love to play. Pretty much always in a good mood. They love each other.
Okay. What kind of things do you do with them?
Like to play outside. Like to visit family. Go on trips, maybe the zoo, get some ice cream sometimes.
You had indicated you were working 3 jobs. You were working 3 jobs. During that time when you were not working, how much time would you spend with your children?
By the time I got home after work till the time they would go to bed.
What time would you typically get home from work?
3:30, 4 o'clock.
What time would they be put down for bed?
Around 9, 10 o'clock.
Now that you are no longer in a relationship with Miss Couch, who prepares their meals when they're with you?
I do.
And do you also still assist them in feeding them?
They eat pretty well by themselves.
Okay. So how do your children know that you love them?
I give them the same affection they give me. I love them, cuddle them, watch them TV shows, tell them I love them, hug them.
When you and Miss Conley were together, typically who gave the children baths or bathed them?
She would, because she felt that it was comfortable for her to do it.
Would you help out in other ways, like change diapers, anything like
Yes.
that? Now that you guys are separated, who takes care of the bathing when the children are with you?
I do.
Okay. Are they still in diapers or are they potty trained?
They're currently potty training.
Okay. Are you still working with them on that?
Yes.
When you guys were together for the period of time you were, meaning you and Miss Couch, if they were crying or got up in the middle of the night, who got up and sat with them?
She would, because I would have to get my sleep for work in the morning.
Okay. Did you have any type of understanding in that respect?
No.
So now that you're separated, where are you currently residing?
I'm staying at my grandmother's house.
Okay. Who's in that house besides yourself and your grandmother?
Nobody.
And how many bedrooms is it?
3 bedroom.
Do the girls have their own space, their own bedroom?
Yes.
Okay. Are they both still in the same room?
Yes.
Okay. When they get up in the middle of the night, when you have them overnight, who gets up with them? You or your
I do.
Okay. When you have them with you, do you have a routine for them in terms of like bedtime, what you do when you go to bed, anything like that?
Yes.
Can you describe that for the court?
Usually around 8:30, we would go get ready for bed. If it was time for a bath, we would do it every other day. And then after that, we would get around for bed, put our pajamas on, brush our teeth, brush our hair. And then usually we'll just get around for bed, play some lullaby music until they fall asleep.
Do you stay in the room while
Yes.
they're falling asleep?
Yep.
When you said play them lullaby music, usually how long does it take before they fall asleep after that?
No more than 5-10 minutes.
If you have the children, do you have an ability to stay home with them when they are sick?
Yes.
Okay. If you are unable to, maybe because of employment, do you have other family members, other supports that could stay home with the children if they were sick?
Yes.
Who would that be?
My mother, my stepmother, and they both got their moms here in town too.
Okay. When you say your mother, what is your mother's name?
My mother's name is Lori, and then my stepmother's name is Holly. Kind of.
Understanding they're only 2 years old, 2.5 years old, how do you teach your children manners?
Right now, if they make a mess, we'll tell them that we gotta clean up after ourselves and pick up when we're done. And we're teaching our please and thank yous if they want something or not. Or their bless yous after we sneeze.
Does that seem to be, do they seem to be catching on in that regard?
Yeah.
If either of the children are acting naughty, how do you handle discipline?
Usually if it's their fight between a toy, I'll take the toy and we'll have a sit down talk about it and have a little timeout. And other than that, that's about it.
Okay. So is it fair to say you use it as like a teaching moment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that seem to be effective?
Yeah.
You had mentioned your mom and your stepmom. Do you have other extended family in the area?
Other than my grandma and my stepmom's mom.
Okay. Now, Ms. Couch already testified about the children spending some time at Holly's or Lori's residence, and essentially indicated that you didn't give her a choice in the kids going over there. Is that true?
No.
How would that come about in terms of them ultimately going to Holly's or to Lori's for?
I would talk about it with Athena if it was all right for them to go over there, and she would say yes. So then, for the most part, we'd all both drive over there in my truck and we would go take them over there.
Okay. Would you both go pick them up?
Yeah, for the most part.
Typically, how long would they stay over at Lori's and Holly's?
So about 7-8 o'clock.
At night?
Yeah, for a few hours after I got off of work, or for on the Saturday for the day, it'll be for maybe till dinner.
Okay. Would Athena ever take the kids over to Holly's or Lori's?
Sometimes.
You had indicated you were working 3 jobs. What jobs were those?
I worked at Daniel's Building Company. I worked at Myers, and then my tortilla vending.
So let's start with,
I helped my stepdad with.
okay, let's start with Daniel's Building Group. What days of the week, if you had a schedule, did you work and what
It
hours?
was Monday through Friday,
Okay.
from 7 to 2:30.
Okay. What about Meyer? How often would you work there?
8 hours on Sunday. It was 1:30 to 10.
What did you do at Myers?
Grocery stock.
Okay. And then you said there's a tortilla.
Yes.
When did you work there?
I believe it was before the kids were born.
Okay. Did you work there after the kids were born?
Yes.
How many days a week would you work there?
Once a week.
Okay. Is it typically one particular day a week that you work there?
Thursday.
Okay. And for how long?
How long a day?
Yeah. How long did you work there for the hours?
It was about 8 hours a day, close to,
Why did you work 3 jobs?
to provide for my family.
So is it accurate, as Ms. Couch testified, that she wasn't working?
Yeah.
Okay. The employment history she provided, like working at Firekeepers for only 4 days, Applebee's 4 to 5 months, back in 2021, the hotel and the shift. Does that sound accurate in terms of her relatively recent employment history?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it sound like she actually worked there for that length of time? With each other?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Was it ever discussed between you and her going back to work and the children being put in daycare?
Yeah.
What happened with those discussions?
She just refused to put them in daycare, so she's just stayed home with them.
She provided a reason why she didn't want to put them in daycare?
That she didn't trust them.
The daycare people?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, she testified that her mom lives relatively close by. How often would the children actually go over to her mother's?
Usually on Saturdays, if they didn't go to my mom's, they'd go to her mom's, and then every once in a while, her mom would come over to my house during the week when I was at work.
During your relationship, did Miss Couch ever actually live with her mother for a period of time?
No.
Okay. From what you are aware of and communicating with Miss Couch, or what you witnessed, how would you describe that relationship between Athena and her mother?
Crazy.
Okay. So basically not stable.
Yeah.
Do you currently have a present religious practice?
No.
Does Miss Couch, to the best of your knowledge?
No.
Okay.
What was the answer to that?
I believe you said no.
Catholic.
Ma'am, it's not your time to talk. You'll have chance if you want to testify later to do so. So don't interrupt.
Mr. Couch, turn your attention to providing for the children. Who buys the groceries for the kids when you and Miss Couch were together?
It was 50-50 most part.
Okay. Is that essentially funded by you?
Yes.
So we've already talked about your employment with the 3 jobs. Are you still working those 3 jobs?
No.
Okay. What job are you working now?
Richard Group.
Okay. What do you do at Richard Group?
General labor
How long have you been there?
since end of July.
Okay. And what are your work hours?
7 or Monday to Friday, 7 to 3:30,
And what do you get paid?
32 an hour.
And about how many hours a week do you average?
35.
Are you able to get insurance through your work as a benefit of that employment?
Yes.
Okay. But the children are currently on Medicaid, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any present concerns with Ms. Couch as a parent?
No.
Do you think she's a good mom?
Yes.
Now, currently where you reside is just you and your grandma, and there's eviction proceedings happening for Ms. Couch to have her removed from the present house. What is your plan after she vacates that residence?
I move back in and keep the house
Okay.
for me and the girls.
Now, we touched on this a little bit with your extended family that you have in the area. Do your children get to see your extended family with any relative frequency?
Yes.
And on what occasions do they actually see them, or is it just holidays?
I try to bring them over there as much as possible.
Okay. Do you actually celebrate holidays with them?
Yes.
When Miss Couch is removed from your residence, have you had any discussions with her on where she's ultimately going to end up going?
No.
Okay, so you have no idea where that would be?
No.
If she were to move in with her mother and her brother that has been identified as crazy and assaultive, do you have any concerns with that household, with your
Yeah.
children? What would those concerns be?
Assaults with her brother or mom.
You know if her mother's working?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Do either yourself or Miss Couch have any issues with drugs or alcohol?
No.
She had testified that she uses marijuana with some regular frequency. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
In terms of transportation, do you have a valid driver's license?
I do. Yes.
Do you have a vehicle that has up-to-date insurance and tags?
Yes.
Okay. Considering all the allegations she's made regarding you in court, as well as in her pleadings, has she still asked you to do things with her or to kind of come back and save your relationship?
Yeah.
Do either yourself or Miss Couch have any physical or mental limitations that would interfere with your ability to parent the children?
No.
Has she withheld the children from you?
Yes.
How often?
How often, you said?
Yes.
Well, during the parenting time, she was taking them away from me on the weekends when it was my time to where I couldn't see them.
Was she letting you see the children before you got the initial court order in June?
I don't believe so.
So between the time you got arrested until the court order in June, was she allowing any contact between you and the children in terms of you having parenting time?
No.
She testified a little bit. We touched on incidences of domestic violence between the two of you. How many instances of domestic violence that can you recall that's actually occurred between yourself and Miss Couch?
2.
Okay. And you said 2. When did the first one occur?
A week prior before my charge.
Okay. When were you charged?
March 26th.
Okay. So the week prior in March, there was an incident. Can you describe to the court what happened?
That was the time when the girls were not around, but it was late at night and it was about over weed, I believe. And she saw that I was video recording that argument or whatever, and she got mad and tried to snatch the phone off of me and was pushing me around.
When you said it was over weed, what do you mean?
She wanted weed that I told her no.
Okay. And you said the children were not around. Does that
No.
mean, do you mean by that the children were not in the room?
Not in the room. I
Okay.
believe they were in bed.
So they were in the house.
Yes.
Okay. And then the second incident that happened that you were charged with, could you describe for the court what happened there?
Yeah, I had just gotten off of work. I immediately got asked if she could get some weed, and I told her no. And she kept going on about it, and to the point to where I said, okay, I'm just gonna go shower, and left her. And then she followed me into the shower, wanting my car keys, and was pushing me in the shower, so I pushed her off of me, and that's how that charge came along.
Where were the keys at?
They were with me in the shower for her not to get.
Okay. Were you ultimately arrested on that?
Yes, I was arrested that day.
And what's the status of that criminal case?
Dropped.
Is there anything that you're currently doing in relation to that case?
Yeah, I was recommended to take a men's healthy relationships class.
Okay. And is that class in person or online?
It's on Zoom every Saturday.
Okay. And
2 hours.
how long is that class supposed to last for?
6 months, I believe.
When the day you actually got arrested, was Miss Couch actually still present when the police were there?
Yeah.
Did she say anything to the police before you were getting arrested?
Yeah, as they were walking me out, she told them that she didn't want me to get arrested.
Okay. Did she contact you when you got released from jail?
Yes.
What did she want?
She wanted me to come home.
Okay. Now, there's reference in her pleadings about you refusing to allow the kids and her to come upstairs in terms of sleeping arrangements. Is the current residence that she's in, is that the same house that you guys have been living in all along?
No.
Okay. Did you live in another place prior to that?
Yeah.
How big was it?
Like 700 square feet.
How many
house.
bedrooms?
About 1.
Okay. Is that where the children actually came home from the hospital to?
Yes.
Okay. When they did come home from the hospital, where were you guys sleeping?
We were all sleeping in the basement at the time.
Okay. How long did that last?
For about a year.
Okay. Then what happened after the year?
Me and Athena came upstairs.
So you two moved up to the room upstairs?
Yes.
Okay. Where were the children at?
Right at the bottom of the steps.
Okay.
In their own little room.
Is there a reason why you didn't move the children in their cribs up into the room where you and Athena were at?
The room was too small.
Okay. Did she Did she actually want the kids upstairs with you, or was there she wanted?
She wanted the kids upstairs while we were in the basement.
Okay, so regardless of the situation at that time, you were not going to be in the same room with your children, whether you're
Yeah.
upstairs or downstairs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When did you move from that residence into in the residence where she's at?
End of February this year.
Okay. What's the layout of that house?
Single level, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
Okay. What about the sleeping arrangements? What are the sleeping arrangements at that house?
The girls have their own room. They have their own playroom, and then I have my own room.
Okay. How far away is your room, or when you and Athena were there, your guys' room from the kids' room?
10 feet.
Okay. Mr. Cowles, what would you ultimately like the court to order in this matter in relation to custody?
What would I want?
Yes, what do you want?
Primary custody.
Okay. When you say primary custody, does that mean you want the kids living with you basically full time?
Yeah,
Okay. And why is that?
because I feel like Athena is unstable.
Do you have any concerns with her lack of employment?
Yeah,
How about her lack of stable housing?
yeah.
If the court is not inclined to entertain that request, you have an alternative that you would like to see happen.
Week on, week off, or 2 days during the week with a weekend off and weekend on.
Okay. So when you say 2 days during the week, do you mean like a set 2 days
Yes,
overnight with you and then a set 2 days overnight with her and then alternating weekends?
Yep.
Okay. Would you like the court to also address holidays and summers?
yes.
How about legal custody? Are you requesting joint legal custody or primary legal?
I like primary.
Okay. And if the court's unwilling to do that, joint legal?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Couch, you can ask the plaintiff any questions you'd like.
Is it true that under the care of you and your mother, just in September, Evelyn was burned on her wrist from the stove?
Yes.
And how did that happen?
Because we told her no about a hot pan on the stove, and she still went up and touched it.
Okay. Now, did the police investigate your phone in August?
No, I got talked to by the sheriff.
No further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next witness, Mr. Kelly.
Your Honor, I'd call Holly Connolly. I believe she should be in the waiting room.
Okay. Conley, you're going to have to join and then, oh, you have unmuted, so that's fine. Okay. Ms. Conley, we're going to take some testimony from you. So if you would raise your right hand, we'll have you sworn in, then we'll proceed.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. And make sure you speak up so we can hear you, because you can be saying all kinds of things, and if we can't hear you, then it doesn't matter. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Conley, do you know Mr. Zachary Conley?
I do.
And how do you know him?
Yes. He's my stepson.
Okay. How long have you known him for?
19 years since he was 4.
Okay. Do you know Miss Athena Couch?
I do.
How long have you known Miss Couch?
3 years maybe.
Okay. Where do you currently work?
I work for the Department of Health and Human Services
How long
for
have
the state of Michigan.
and how long have you worked there?
15 years, since 2009.
In what capacity are you employed there?
I'm an eligibility specialist or assistance payments worker, as some people know it.
Okay, what does that mean?
So food stamps and Medicaid and cash assistance, we work with clients for that.
Okay. Prior to that, where did you work?
I worked for Stars and Stripes Learning Station daycare for 7 years.
Okay. So, are you familiar with the children in this case?
I am.
Okay. Did you have any regular contact with them in terms of seeing them?
Yeah, we would see them pretty much once a week since they were born.
So let's clarify that. Of course, the parties have split and the dynamics have changed. So you
Okay, yeah.
hang
So we-
on, wait.
Yeah.
Until I ask you. You said you've seen them about once a week since they were born. How long did that continue for?
Until March of this year.
When you would see them, what days of the week or weekend would you see them?
Typically on Sundays.
Okay. Who would usually drop them off?
Mostly it would be the two of them. Once in a while, Athena by herself or Zach by himself, but mostly the two of them.
Did at the time of drop off, or at any time thereafter, were you ever contacted by Miss Couch and her displaying her displeasure or not agreeing with the children being with you during those times?
No.
Did she ever indicate to you she was being forced to do this by Mr. Conley?
No.
Okay. How long would the kids stay with you on Sundays?
Till about usually after dinner time, like around 7, 8 o'clock.
Okay. Did she ever allow overnights?
No.
Okay. Did she ever?
We've asked and she would never allow them.
Okay. You had indicated you'd seen him with this frequency up until March of this year. After March of this year, how often have you been able to see them?
Only when Zach would get them. We got them in May, I think it was, by Athena reaching out to me. And then after that, it would typically be when Zach started getting the girls. I would get them a couple more times, like one more time, I think, from May to June when Zach's parenting time was put into place. And then we would only see them when he would have the girls.
Okay. So when the couple was actually together and would they actually visit along with the children at times?
Not very often. They'd stay for maybe 5 minutes and then they'd go home.
Okay. Were there other times when they'd actually stay longer?
How, like for Christmas when they came over?
Were there times when you would actually go to Mr. Couch and Athena's residence?
Just to drop them back off.
When you did see this couple together, how was the interaction between the parents and the children?
Fine. I didn't notice anything that I would think is different or weird or.
Did someone seem to be more in charge than the other?
Absolutely. Athena would always be more in charge.
Okay. In terms of like take care of things with the kids that you witnessed, would she, you say take charge, does that necessarily mean she wouldn't allow Mr. Conley to do it?
Correct. I feel like, yeah, she would just have the say and not allow him to have an opinion or an option to do anything with them.
Okay. Did you ever witness her actually asking him for assistance during these times?
No.
Did Athena ever talk to you about Mr. Conley as a parent?
No, not really, no.
Okay. Would she ever say anything to him about how he is as a dad?
Not really, no. Just, she would always, once in a while, she would make a comment about him not helping, but I feel like a lot of that was because she wouldn't allow him to.
Okay. So she would never say anything like he's a bad dad or anything like that?
No.
There was an issue brought up about Ms. Couch indicating whether the kids were allowed to, her and the kids were allowed to come upstairs as opposed to having to stay in the basement. Did you ever talk with her about that? Or did she ever talk with you?
My understanding was that it was dark and quiet down there, so that's why they kept them down there.
Okay. So there was no indication that he was forcing them to stay down in the basement?
Absolutely not.
Okay. You had indicated they would sometimes come over for the holidays. What holidays would that be?
The only one I remember seeing them for Thanksgiving once, and then they came over for Christmas, this last Christmas, and stayed for, Zach and Athena stayed for about an hour maybe, and then we kept the girls a little longer than that.
Okay. Has Ms. Couch ever accused you of wrongdoing when it comes to the children in relation to your employment?
Can you rephrase? If you're talking about my employment, she's accused me of multiple things.
Such as?
So she accused me of withholding benefits and fraud in my employment.
Did she actually make complaints to your employer about that?
Yep, she sent in a letter and called my supervisors.
Okay. Was that ever looked into or investigated by your employer?
They called and spoke with me in regards to the matter, and I told them that they could pull all of my records and they would not find Conley or Couch listed under any of my records, because I know that if I were to access that, I would lose my job. So I never did and never wanted to. It wasn't my business.
Okay. Was there an incident in relation to when you had the children in relation to a diaper rash or cream or something like that?
Yeah, one of the girls had a diaper rash, and I had asked Athena about putting diaper cream on it, and she had told me no, that they would be okay.
Okay. Did she actually accuse you of the rash?
She had made comments afterwards about the rash and Evelyn being constipated, that we were mistreating the girls and feeding them, I guess, I don't know, like inappropriate or not healthy foods, I guess.
Okay. Since the separation, have you seen Mr. Conley with the children?
Yes.
How does he interact with them?
Very well. He's on the floor playing with them, taking them to the restroom when they need to go. They're always wanting to sit by him on the couch. When he leaves, they're yelling, "Bye, Dada." When he's home, it comes to pick him up. They run to the door and want him to pick them up, and he's very good with them.
Okay. How are the children at the beginning of parenting time? Is there any reluctance on their part to see their dad that you witnessed?
I didn't get to see that when he first came with them. That happened at Lori's house. I know there was a little bit when they first came to us for the first time.
And how long did that last?
A few minutes after we started talking to him, and just telling them Mimi loves you, I'm here, and just kind of talking and playing with them. They were fine again, ready to go.
Okay. Was that the same thereafter on any subsequent visits?
No, nope.
So there was no issues on any subsequent visits is what I'm getting at.
Not since Zach has had them as of recently, no.
You haven't witnessed anything along the lines of the kids screaming and crying and refusing to go, anything like that?
Before or now since the parenting time?
Now.
Not now, no, not to be with him. They'll cry when he leaves sometimes because they want their dad, but like when he goes to work and has dropped them off, they'll be a little upset they want their dad, but never like in the negative tone of like when he comes to pick them up, they're ready to go with dad and they're jumping and, playing and ready to go with him.
So in viewing his interaction, does it seem that he's able to read their cues in terms of, and meeting their needs?
Yes.
Do you have any concerns with his parenting that you've witnessed?
No.
Okay. If this court awards Mr. Conley custody or even joint custody, would you be available to watch the children when he worked, or even if Miss Couch worked, if she gets a job?
Yes, I told him that my mom or I would be available to help him.
Okay. Okay. From what you know of Mr. Conley and what you witnessed over the short lifetime of these kids, do you have any concerns with Mr. Conley's ability to care for the children?
I do not know.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Couch, if you have any questions of this witness, you can ask now.
I do. Before the court order was in place, is it true that I contacted you in regards to visitation?
In May, yes.
Yes. Okay. And then when I told you that he doesn't help me, you made the comment that that's a Conley, referring to that's just how he is and how his family is.
I don't recall that, no.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Kelly?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Conley, that'll conclude your testimony. You're free to go. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Next witness, Mr. Kelly?
Would be Lori Conley. She should be in the waiting room as well, yeah.
I have her as Lori Putnam.
Or Lori Putnam, I'm sorry. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Please unmute, ma'am.
Yes.
Ms. Putnam, as soon as you join visually, we'll be able to get you sworn in that.
All right, raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Conley, Miss Putnam, I'm sorry. How do you know, or do you know Mr. Zachary Conley?
He is my son.
Okay. Do you know Miss Athena Couch?
I do.
Okay. About how long have you known her?
Like 3.5 years, maybe.
Okay. In relation to the children, when the couple was together, when Miss Couch and Mr. Conley were together, would they come over to your residence and visit with the children?
Just to drop them off for me to babysit for them.
Okay. Would you see them in other instances like holidays, anything like that?
Yes, for holidays.
Longer?
For holidays, yes.
Okay. How would you describe the interaction between Miss Couch and Mr. Conley when it comes to the children?
When it comes to the children, as far as
Like child rearing, taking care of them, when you've seen, is there one parent in charge and another one?
Athena was always in charge.
Okay. How, from what you witnessed, would Zach ever actually try to assist and not be allowed to?
Yes, he would try, and then Athena would just basically do everything on her own.
Okay. Would that hold true with other people that were present during that time if they attempted to assist?
Yes, like at holidays, my family members would offer to do things, and Athena always would just say, "That's okay, I can do it," and she would always send to the girls.
When Mr. Conley was actually allowed to do anything in relation to assisting with the girls, was Miss Couch supportive or critical of him?
Critical.
How often, when the parties were a couple, from the day the children were born up to there's a domestic violence incident in March, how often were you seeing the children?
I would see them average once or twice a month.
Okay. What days would you typically see them?
It would typically be Saturdays.
Okay. And what time do they get dropped off on Saturdays?
Usually it varied. It was usually in the late morning, afternoon, after their nap, maybe after they woke up from a nap.
Okay. Do you recall who would actually drop them off?
They would both drop them off.
Okay. Did Miss Couch ever have conversations with you indicating that she didn't agree with the children being brought over to your household?
No.
Did she ever indicate to you that she was forced to actually do this with the children?
No.
Since the party's no longer a couple, and after that domestic violence incident, how often have you been able to see the children since March of this year up through present?
I've been seeing them basically since Zach was granted parenting time. They've been been dropped off at my house, so I've been seeing him on Wednesdays and every other weekend when Zach has had them.
Okay. So you've then witnessed Mr. Conley interact with the children?
Yes.
How would you describe his interaction with the children?
He's very, very active with them. Always participating, playing with them outside. They always want to go outside and play, so they play outside. He plays with them in the sandbox.
Does he seem to be able to read their cues as far as maybe if they have to go to the bathroom or if they're hungry, anything like that?
Oh, yes.
Does he take care of those things?
Yes, he does. And when I offer to take them to the bathroom or such, and so the girls always say, "No, Daddy, do it." They always want Zach to do everything with them. So usually the girls don't let me. It's always Zach does it.
Okay. When they were still a couple and they would come over on Saturdays, were they ever allowed to spend the night?
No.
Okay. Did you ever ask for them to
Oh,
spend the night?
I asked all the time. Yes.
And what was the response?
I never really got a response. It was
You never.
Ma'am, do not interrupt.
So who would you ask?
I asked Zach. I usually communicated with Zach.
Okay. And you said you never got a response. What does that mean? Literally, you just.
Well, Zach always said, I'll ask Athena, and then it never happened. I mean, he would ask, I'm assuming, and I never But I have asked Athena too, like, because when she was gonna get a job and we had talked about babysitting for the girls and it would be an overnight thing, and I offered that, so it was an open invitation that the girls could spend the night at my house.
Do you have any concerns with Zach's parenting, Mr. Conley's parenting that you've witnessed?
No,
Okay, if the court awards him custody or even joint custody, would you be available to watch the when he worked? He was not available, or if Miss Couch was working?
yes,
Okay. From the interactions you witnessed, do you have any concerns with his ability to care for the children?
and no.
Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness.
Ms. Couch, you have opportunity to ask the witness questions if you wish to do so.
I do not. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Putnam, that concludes your testimony. Then you're free to go. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
Any other witnesses, Mr. Kelly?
No, Your Honor, we would just have.
Okay, do you rest?
Yes.
Okay.
Give me 1 second, please.
Ms. Couch, I will allow you at this point to ask if there's anything else you would like to present as far as testimony in this case.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Then what we'll do is conclude and go to closing arguments. Mr. Kelly.
Your Honor, I'll be brief. My client has employment. He's had employment throughout this relationship to provide for the family. He has housing. He has a family support system in place. He has stability, and he has a really good relationship with his kids that's loving and has structure. He does support mom having a relationship with the children, despite her actions towards him and seeming lack of stability within her household. Mom, on the other hand, doesn't have a job, of course, and I'm sure the court's heard this before. The day of a hearing, I'm in the process of getting a job or something along those lines. She's being evicted from her house. Doesn't sound like there's any plans in terms of where these kids are going to be going. She has nothing stable lined up. She basically has none of these things that Mr. Conley has. She's violated the court orders, Your Honor, twice. She's made allegations with CPS and police that were denied, and blames others for her insecurities, Your Honor. I think the testimony supports all of this. At this point in time, Your Honor, we'd request joint legal custody and primary custody to my client with a standard parenting time schedule for Ms. Couch, or in the alternative, we'd request joint physical custody on a week on, week off, or a similar 5-2-2 schedule along with the holidays and summer parenting time, as typically addressed in most cases. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Couch, you can make a closing argument now if you wish to do so.
I obviously want sole custody of my kids. They've been with me I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last 2.5 years. This is where they're comfortable. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Well, the court has heard the testimony in this matter, and there are a few things I'll let you know that the court looks at in this case. So they always look at credibility, and it's always a consideration. Oftentimes parties will allege that another witness is not truthful or lying, but the court has often found that inconsistencies that occur do so because of a witness's background, perception, bias, misunderstanding, understanding, or mistake. In this case, there's been some inconsistent testimony when we look at it as a whole. Nothing I would say is.
Wait, Judge, we lost Mr. Kelly again. Oh, there.
Okay. Back. I said nothing that the court has seen that is real substantial as it relates to again inconsistencies, but there's been some, and so that's understandable as well. What happens in these particular cases, the court will note that, again, there was an order entered back on June 13, 2024, in which the court did at that time award to the defendant obviously the temporary custody of the children, and then provided the plaintiff with Wednesday midweek parenting time from 4 to 8, and then alternating weekends, and for a week period in the summer. There's been some allegations about the defendant basically violating that order by not providing parenting time. In this case, the court has to, in all custody cases, make a determination of the best interest of the child or children in this case, as delineated under MCL 722.23, and I will get into that in a moment. However, the first task in every case is to determine whether there's an established custodial environment. Established custodial environment exists if over an appreciable time, a particular parent provides guidance, discipline, necessity, and okay, please mute. Parental comfort. Court has to look at the age of the children, the physical environment, and the inclination of the custodian as to the permanency of the relationship. In this particular case, there's not a dispute that during the time that the parties were together, that they did in fact each contribute in some way to the raising of the children, but the defendant, excuse me, the plaintiff himself had stated that in this matter that the defendant was the one that got up with him at night when they had to get up because of the fact that that he was working and he needed sleep to be able to work. Hey, Seuss, would you mute Miss Couch?
Yes.
Thank you. Court would note as well that that all of the various witnesses in this matter, the ones that recently testified, Ms. Conley and Ms. Putnam, both testified in this case that when parties were together and they were together for holidays or other times, that they would attempt to assist, and it was always the defendant that would say, no, I'll do it, and she would in fact do that. Court will note as well that the plaintiff testified that he talked about putting the children in daycare, and the defendant in fact refused to put them in daycare, and she was going to stay at home with them and care for them. Court notes that again, the parties, Ms. Conley, Ms. Putnam, and the plaintiff had testified in this case that well, the other two, Ms. Putnam and Ms. Conley, testified that there were no problems with the plaintiff having the care of the children. But they both had testified as well that it was the defendant that was always in charge and would take charge and sometimes would not take the assistance from the plaintiff. And that's unfortunate, but notwithstanding that, that is what happened in this particular case. So when the court looks at things that the court has to look at, who provided the guidance, discipline, necessity of life, and parental comfort, I do find that both of the parties provided that, but that in fact the defendant provided a greater amount of that, and that she had provided, again, the greater amount of that care, being a stay-at-home mother. And so the court will find that the established custodial environment was with the defendant mother. Why is that important? It's important because the court cannot change an established custodial environment unless there's presented clear and convincing evidence to do so. Clear and convincing evidence is evidence which would produce in the mind of the trier of fact firm belief or conviction as to the allegation sought to be established, evidence so clear, direct, and weighty and convincing as to enable the court to come to a clear conviction without hesitancy as to the precise facts and issue. So the court has to look through the best interest of factor test as delineated under the statute. The first factor is the love, affection, and other emotional ties existing between the parties involved and the children. We've heard the testimony from both of the parties, and both the parties claim that they have a loving, caring relationship, that the children say, I love you, there's hugs, there's kisses. This was substantiated as well by Ms. Conley and Ms. Putnam in this matter, that in fact, the girls wish to have Mr. Conley do things and provide for them. The court will find that this factor is equal as to both parties. Next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to give the children love, affection, guidance, and continuation in education, raising them in a particular religion or creed. There's been no testimony about the religion. In fact, Mr. Conley testified that there was no religious involvement in this matter. They're obviously too young to have that education. The court will find that this factor does weigh equally as to both parties. Next factor is the capacity and disposition of the parties involved to provide the children with food, clothing, medical care, and other remedial care recognized or permitted in the place of medical care or other material needs. Again, the parties, when they were together, they both provided for the material needs. It was the plaintiff that was working and providing the financial assistance in this particular matter. And the court does question the defendant's ability to provide that, but she did say she is in public assistance getting cash assistance, so she would be able to provide for those material needs in this matter. But again, the plaintiff does have a greater ability to do so, but in the end, the court will consider this factor to be equal. Next factor is the length of time that children have lived in a stable, satisfactory environment and the desirability of maintaining continuity. Again, the testimony by both of the parties were that the defendant is being evicted from the home that the parties were in together. She has not testified as to having any or other plans for the stability of the home in this matter or the stability. So the court will find this factor does weigh in favor of the plaintiff's father. Next factor is the permanency of the family unit, the existing or proposed custodial homes. In this matter, there's been no testimony about any change in the family unit. There's no testimony about any significant others or any, so the court will weigh this factor equal as to both parties. Next factor is the moral fitness of the parties involved. There's been very little testimony as it relates to moral fitness in this matter, but the court will note that the defendant had testified in questioning from Mr. Kelly that, again, that she drives without a license. She does not have any plates on the car, so it is not valid. It's not legal in this matter, and notwithstanding that, she finds no problem with violating the law in both instances to, again, drive the vehicle. The court will find that this factor weighs in favor of the plaintiff's father. Next factor is the mental and physical health of the parties involved. There's been no testimony about any adverse mental or physical health by either of the parties. The court will find that factor to be equal in this matter. Next factor is the homeschool and community record of the children. In this case, they're very young, so there's no school and community record. There is, again, minimal home record other than the fact of how they operate and how they handle being in both of the parties' home. The court will not find that this factor weighs in favor of either of the parties. Reasonable preference of the children, if the court considers them of sufficient age to express a preference. I did not consider them to be of sufficient age to express a preference. They're just 2.5. And as a result, the court did not interview them. Next factor is the willingness and ability of each of the parents to facilitate a close and continued parent-child relationship. There was some testimony briefly about the defendant violating the court order. But it did appear that that resolved itself, and that that was for a short time after the order was entered. The court's not ignoring that, but it does appear that again, that it, after the court order was entered, that again, that did resolve itself. So the court's not putting a lot of weight in that consideration of that factor. And I'm not weighing in favor really of either of the parties at this point. Next factor is domestic violence, regardless of whether the violence was directed or witnessed by the children. There were 2 instances in which there was some alleged domestic violence. The court, in weighing the testimony of both of the parties, is, quite frankly, notes the one instance where the plaintiff was charged was an instance in which the defendant apparently wanted some marijuana. He was not agreeable to that, and she, in fact, followed him into the bathroom, that she wanted to get the keys, that it's his claim that she assaulted him, and that he says that he pushed her back after he was being assaulted. In this case, the court, based upon the evidence, I do not believe that, in fact, the alleged violence asserted by the defendant occurred. And in fact, the charges were subsequently dropped in this matter, and the court's taking that into consideration as well. Any other factors considered by the court to be relevant in a particular custody dispute? Court does not find any other factors that stand out as being relevant in this particular matter to take into consideration. When the court looks at this, obviously there were some factors that favored the plaintiff, but the question is do those factors rise to the level of clear and convincing evidence to be able to change the established custodial environment? The court does not believe that, again, the factors that the court had went through would be sufficient to change the established custodial environment. As a result, the court will determine and continue the primary physical custody of the children with the defendant mother in this case. Court notes that the court by statute is required to consider joint custody. The question is, under joint legal custody, is not whether the parties always agree, but whether they generally agree about important decisions concerning the care of the children. The court does not believe that there's been testimony that, in fact, the parties have not been able to agree as to that. And even sometimes when the parties are able to, in the case is pending, they do, as the case proceeds, are able to get by that and to work out and resolve those particular issues. So what happens, the court does believe that the parties are able to consult concerning important decisions. As a result, the court is going to grant to the parties joint legal custody, which means that the parties have to communicate with each other concerning important decisions involving the children's lives. And if they're not able to agree, then they have to bring the matter back before the court, and the court will decide it. But I always tell the parties, don't get hung up on the fact that you can't agree, because that does happen. Sometimes you can't agree, but then you have to bring it back to the court. Don't get all irritated, upset about it, but bring it back before the court, and we'll again have a hearing if necessary to decide those particular issues. Court then has to decide the issues of parenting time pursuant to MCL 722.27A. It is presumed under the statute the best interest of the child is to have a strong relationship with both parties. And as a result, the court has to look at various factors under the statute for determining parenting time as well. In this case, the court looks at whether there's special circumstances or needs of the child or children. The children are not special needs children, and as a result, it doesn't. That's not applicable in this case. Next is whether the children are under the age of 1. That's not applicable either. Next is likelihood of abuse or neglect of the children during parenting time. There's been no allegations of abuse or neglect of the children, so the court will not weigh that factor. Next factor is likelihood of abuse of a parent during the exercise of parenting time. There's been no allegations of that as well. Next factor is the inconvenience or burdensome impact of travel. There's been no allegation of that. The parties reside within a reasonable proximity, and so that would not be applicable. Next is whether the parents reasonably expected to exercise ordered parenting time, which the plaintiff has in this particular matter. Next is whether the parents frequently fail to exercise parenting time, which he is not. And next is whether there's been threatened or actual detention of the child and children in this case, but there has not, and any other relevant factors. So the court takes the other relevant factors being under the best interest of the child in this particular case. What the court does believe in this matter is that, again, that the plaintiff should receive greater than the standard parenting time. And standard he would receive is the weekends, which are Friday to Sunday, 6 o'clock p.m. on Friday to 6 o'clock p.m. on Sunday. And then a midweek, which would be Wednesday if the parties cannot otherwise agree, from 4 to 8. But in the off weeks, when he doesn't have the children for his weekend, the court would order that he receive the children for 2 overnights. So when he'd have them in the off weeks, or he'd have the midweek, he would get them from 4 to 8, but then his midweek would continue from Wednesday, with the midweek from 4 to 8, and then that would continue until Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. So he'd have the additional Wednesday overnight and the additional Thursday overnight. So he'd have the additional 2 days each alternating week. Court would order that the plaintiff also receive alternating holidays pursuant to the front of the court holiday schedule, that he would receive 1/2 of the Christmas vacation period, that he would receive alternating spring break, with him taking spring break in odd number of years, and each alternating odd number of year thereafter, and defendant having them in even number of years. I don't know who had the children last. The last holiday would have been Labor Day, but whoever had them last, then the other parent would receive Thanksgiving this year, and then we would alternate from that date forward. Court would also order and allow the plaintiff to have parenting time in the summer on alternating weeks under the standard provision, which would be from calculated from the Friday when the children would be out of school based upon the school district that they reside in, and then again the Sunday before school would commence in this matter. Court would note that the court has to consider and look at the child support as well, and that would be based upon the parenting time schedule. The court notes that the defendant has had jobs in which she has made approximately, one job she's making $16 an hour, a couple others $15 an hour. The court will state in this matter that based upon the climate in the locality of Battle Creek area, that she would be able to acquire employment at $15 per hour for a full-time employment, and the court will impute the full-time employment at $15 per hour to her. The plaintiff had testified his income is $32 per hour, on average 35 hours per week, so the court will calculate it on that basis. And I'd ask that Mr. Kelly would calculate the support and provide a uniform child support order based upon that. With that, I think that's all that the court has to decide. I'll ask Mr. Kelly, is there anything else you believe the court has failed to address or needs to address before we conclude?
Your Honor, I would just request a point of clarification on, I guess, two things. I've often put in my orders to follow the standard front of the court holiday parenting time, but then that's been rejected by front of the court, indicating that they don't have that. I was simply going to use a schedule that seemed to be adopted by the state of Michigan. I wanted to make sure that that was okay, that addressed like Easter, Memorial Day, Independence Day, and had alternating years in that schedule. If that's okay, if they put that in this.
That's fine. And the court would let the parties know that, again, the holiday parenting time does take precedence over regular parenting time, just so that they know that. So, for instance, Mr. Conley, if a holiday runs on a Sunday, let's say it's Easter Sunday and it's her Sunday, it's her Easter, then she would be entitled to that time, notwithstanding the fact that it's your weekend. Likewise, if the times fall on her weekend, you would be entitled to that particular parenting time. Anything else, Mr. Kelly?
And two other things, Your Honor, in regards to the summer parenting time, you indicated alternating weeks, starting the Friday when the children would have gotten out of school, according to the local school calendar. Is the week on, week off going to be a Friday to Friday, or do you want it to be a Sunday to Sunday?
I want a Friday to Friday. It
Okay.
facilitates a better, that way we don't have to, parties don't have to break up if they want to go. They get that weekend to be able to do so.
And finally, Your Honor, do I need to submit this under 7-day or just simply submit it directly to the front of the court for approval?
You'll have to submit it to the front of the court for approval, and then at that point it can be submitted to the court.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Couch, I'm going to ask you, we'll need to unmute you. Is there anything else that you believe the court has failed to address or needs to address before we conclude?
No.
Okay, thank you. And I'll ask Mr. Kelly to prepare the appropriate judgments and orders in this matter. You're free to go. I wish you both the best. I hope everything works out for you and you have a wonderful day.
Your Honor, one last question before we leave. I know you had indicated your weekly parenting time. I believe my client just had his weekend, so this off week would be considered this week. So I just wanted to make sure, for Mrs. Couch's purposes, that she knows he'll be getting the children from Wednesday at 4 and returning them Friday at 6.
That's fine, because this would be his, this weekend, this would be his off week then.
Submitted.
What?
It hasn't been submitted before the court.
Well, of course, I'm ordering it immediately now that I make the rulings. So regardless of that, it is the order of the court.
To not be any visitation, please.
And can you tell the judge? You need to have some serious reasons if you want me to cut the parents out of this child's life. There needs to be some serious evidence to support that kind of a request.